Well, welcome to another episode of the Managing Innovation podcast, and I'm delighted today to have with us Hannes Erler, who's an old friend, and Hannes is also the Strategic Director for Innovation Ecosystems from the Swarovski company. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, Swarovski conjures up pictures of beautiful crystals in jewellery and watches and decorations. Wonderful. But when you go back their 100-plus year history, it's a very different company that you see at the beginning, out of deep engineering roots. So it's a fascinating innovation story. And who better to help us understand innovation in that space than Hannes? So, Hannes, thank you so much for joining and welcome. Maybe we could start with a simple question. How did you get here? Can you tell us a bit about your innovation journey with the company and what you've been doing to bring you to the point where you're now responsible for innovation ecosystems?
Yes, I would like to do so, and thank you for the invitation, John. I think everything started when I was a young mechanical engineer in the beginning of the 80s. And I started in product development, and then I saw very fast that in order to have a future growth, we have to change our things. And I started with an interview with Bob Cooper. Bob Cooper came in this time as well to Austria, and we started with the first German-speaking company with stage-gate process. So wow, I saw we have a company that is very innovative, but our processes were not good enough for growth. So with the stage-gate, it was possible for us to speed up, to be more predictive, but on the other side, to have diversity and a higher degree of innovation. I think that was the start of my journey. And one part of that journey was that I then was sent to Harvard, and I was in the first class from Mr. Swarovski, and I was in the first class of Clayton Christensen when he introduced in 1996 his theory about disruptive innovation. Wow. And this was a big point where I started to think about how can we do that. And at this time, so the company, I would say, developed concurrently with the research from innovation professors. Mm-hmm. And so that was more or less my journey. And I was always fascinated by bringing these theories to the company, trying out, learning with the people, integrating the people. And so that was more or less my journey that brought me to here. And now I'm getting retired end of the year, so I'm now working with the company since 43 years, and there's a lot of experiences. Yeah. And I fell in love with innovation, and I cannot think to have a better job than dealing with innovation, learning about innovation, and applying innovation.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a lot of experience, Hannes. But what I particularly like is the picture of you as kind of looking two ways. You're looking out at what we're learning in the research world and the other wider world about innovation, and then bringing it in and translating it into what does this mean for the company, building its capabilities.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly. And I would say every company, every strategy, and every time has its own, let's say, challenges. Yeah. If I started with StageGate in the 80s and 90s, that was StageGate who brought us forward. But then, let's say, when Clayton, when Henry Chesbrough wrote his book about open innovation, we have been an open innovation company for long, but we did not name it like open innovation. But then understanding the theory behind brought us to the next level to say, hey, what about ecosystems? How do we define this open innovation? Can we afford? Do we have to bring in more from outside or more from inside? And today I would say it's about, let's say, ambidexterity and doing both at the same time. Yeah.
That's fascinating, and it very much speaks to this idea of dynamic capability. You're constantly adapting. It's a moving target. But then,
that's the right word.
Maybe I could pick up on what clearly is part of today's challenge. Ecosystems, innovation ecosystems, and the strategy for that. This is a multiplayer game. Can you tell us a bit about a day in the life of a strategy director for innovation ecosystems? What do you do? What does your job involve?
Yeah, it's not easy to describe, but but it's in fact it's simple. On the one side you have to look and to listen to the internal world, your company, to the people, very much to the customers, and say, and I would say the most important thing is about trying out the right questions from customers.
Yeah.
And I would not say we do have fast solutions in our world today. That would be very fine, but I think it's hard work to do. So listen to what is the right questions, and I have some examples where we have to listen for more than 10 years, and then in the sudden you fall into the answer. And so, and the second part of this game is to have a good view to the outside world and go with open eyes through the technological advancements that are everywhere. And I would say about this ecosystem, what my learning was in the last years, especially as well driven by the crisis, is that we have to define our ecosystem consciousness a little more dedicated. What I mean with that is that, let's say, we can divide, let's say, such an innovation ecosystem into a part that is more about business and about bringing the right things to the market. And one is about, let's say, science ecosystems that are exploring, researching, and so. And to combine that, I think it's more iterative process. So you find the questions, you go to the science ecosystem, you translate the question, you see, hey, what can we, in our case, learn from this new technology, and how could we translate this innovation into the world of fashion and jewelry? And it is more or less so this balancing. And so, but in the recent years, I would say more let's say 15 years ago, we more have built our development on networks and say, oh, the network, and so we talk about, and a lot of opportunities came. But today I would say it's more about dedicated ecosystem, finding the right partners, bringing the right partners together, making them collaborating and giving them the right environment and the right process. And so I think that's more the work of a strategic, let's say, ecosystem driver. And and that's so the day is well defined by that.
It's a fairly busy role, I can imagine. And what comes to my mind, it's a little like a football team. It's not just 11 people on a pitch. It takes a lot of helping them, guiding them, shaping them to be a performing unit, even though it's quite a lot of different players.
Yeah, that's a very important thing that you are saying. So in my experience, let's say in innovation history, we in the 90s and 0 years, we more talked about the heroes and support the heroes in the company. My learning, and I think as well the learning of a lot of colleagues, is be careful with champions and heroes, because in this networked world, you need always teams. And if you only speak about the one who at the end brings the ball into the goal, it's dangerous, because the company must grow, the people have to develop, and we have what we see more and more people with very good education coming from the universities. I must say, I even did not know about, when I was a mechanical engineer, about innovation management. Today we have dedicated education. So these people come to the companies, and in these companies, they want to apply their knowledge, they want to experience their knowledge and to develop forward. That needs another system that we had, let's say, 20 years ago. So we should rather support them, coach them, and seeing how can we support and help, and how can we bring in the right environment for them.
Super. And I'm getting this repeated picture of a learning company over time. And of course, this company is well over 100 years old. I wonder, could you just briefly explain how a company moves from where it began to the fashion, jewellery, wonderful stuff it does today, and what that's meant in terms of the innovation challenges? Could you just give us a potted history of Swarovski?
I try to do it very briefly, and I must say I was very surprised. So I was always at the beginning, I always was very proud to be in an innovative company, and this was the age of growth. So what we did, we had technology, we had a market, we had a product, we had designers, we had a fashion industry that needed innovation. So it's very much defined, and we had really an engine, let's say an innovation engine, with bringing more than hundreds of products a year. And we had an idea system that worked and so. And I think one day we had to learn that if we think about the innovation, innovation strategy of a company and the innovation DNA, sometimes, the researchers are saying the innovation strategy or innovation DNA of a company is coined by the first 4 years of its existence. These questions we asked 90 years after the company was born. And it was a very interesting experience, because at this time we did always more of the same, doing the good better and so. But then we saw the original DNA was about like a startup in 1895. Was about exploring. So Mr. Swarovski, he saw the first electric machines. He brought it to the jewelry industry. He automated it, and then so exploring, experiencing, and delivering. That brought us to a new way where we said, with our innovation network. By the way, at that time we won the Best Innovation Network Award from the Zeppelin University in Europe. Then we saw, to be really innovative, we must rather go back and think, can we today be as a big company like a startup? And that's very difficult. Today I would say we have somehow to restart with smaller organizations. For a big company, it's difficult. We tried it. In some cases, we have been successful, but in some cases, we failed. Very, very big. Yes.
And as you mentioned, you've had 40 plus years of experience in this innovation world, in this growing but learning company. I wonder, could you distill, and it's a very difficult question, what you see as the key success factors for innovation? If you wanted to make innovation happen, recommendation, what would be the key factors associated with success?
I would say the key factor is to know who you are and to know who you want to be. It's very, I would say, and this defines the processes and the strategy that you have to be there. If you are in a market, if you have that growth, if you have a product that is successful, if you have an organization that is well organized for growth, then I think it's a different thing. But a lot of big companies are showing us how this works. The big innovators in the world, what they are doing. I think today it is, if you then define do you want to grow by innovation, then you have to go for a bigger game, you have to invest, you have to well organize. And I think the biggest thing is, in my experience, and if I would, if I would go for another job, I would ask the CEO if he understands the principles of ambidexterity. What I mean with that is, the leadership team, especially the CEOs, they have to know that organizing day-to-day business and innovation are two different games with two different types of people. And they have to know that for people that are in the market and in production, they have to deliver. So failing is not allowed there, because we are not happy if the wheels of our car turn off. And on the other hand, to have a better car, you have to have people that can experience, that can fail, that love to fail, that are, they get a bonus for failing. And I think what I see in the world, and that makes me a little sad, is that in most of the cases, CEOs are coming from the financial area, and it's very short-driven result thinking, which is, I think, necessary for the survival of a company. And the other thing is about innovation, and what I learned, and I think that's the experience of the last 20 years now as well, is that if you are having under control the big success factors, you have to say, or let's say 70-80% go to the business and where the money comes from today, from the customers, and let's say around 20% go for the radical innovation, for breakthroughs. And they have to be organized differently, but they have to be managed under the umbrella of the company. And that's why I think the most important thing is that CEOs understand these principles of ambidexterity.
It's really interesting, and it plays out just as much in the public sector and not-for-profits as it does in large commercial organizations. I wonder if I could then flip the question slightly and ask you now to play the role of the devil's disciple or something similar. Your job is to recommend something to a company which will guarantee innovation won't happen. So I want you to think of the big things that might be associated with making sure innovation doesn't happen. Any thoughts about that?
Organize your company in silos.
Okay.
Forbid the people to work cross-functional.
That's interesting.
Getting relaxed and saying we have a good product, we have a good business, so the world is good. We do not have to change.
Yeah.
And then to let the people think that they are safe. I think we have to be honest to the people. And if you are not honest, if you lie on the people, and if you if you do not tell the truth, I think that will be the start of a failure in innovation.
Yeah. No, those resonate, especially the organize into silos. I think one lesson we've learned is how important it is to have inside as well as outside the organization those conversations. It really is about open innovation, about networked innovation.
Yes, really.
Yeah. Hannes, a lot of people who listen to this are interested in innovation management as a career. Many of them are students studying in various ways, as you did once when you were in your Harvard days. So maybe if you could look back, and perhaps I could ask you to be Uncle Hannes for a moment, and give some words of advice to somebody who's just about to start a career in innovation management. What lessons might you pass on?
So my recommendation would be, first of all, congratulations if you go the way of innovation. You always will be motivated and be keen for the new. But I think life is a lifelong journey of learning and experiencing. And I think it's not easy to find where your personal contribution may lie. But I believe that everybody of us has somehow a vision and a dream. If I look back when I was 20, when I was 17, a lot of these visions are still here today. I would say now, stay with that visions and try to find an environment where you can live with that visions and where you can make a contribution. And I think to maximize your contribution could be one sense of life. And today I would say, go to the places where you can contribute to the planet factors, sustainability, and where you can contribute to the factors that are more about social living and social intercollaboration and so. Yeah. So to find those places, to go to those places, make your best contribution, and I'm sure if you are the type of an innovator, you will have a happy life with that. Even if it's not the most easiest way, I must say.
Fascinating. Hannes, maybe one last tailpiece question. What's next? You mentioned that you're coming up to retire, but I'm sure you're not going to stop innovating. I'd love to know what you're going to do next, and maybe a few thoughts of where you see the company going next as an innovator as you look forward into the future. But what's next?
Yeah, so for me personally, next is that I really have found my way, and I would like to contribute and where can I help young people, where can I help organizations in order to learn from my experience, and that is why I want to write a book about that experiences.
Great.
That will be in English, and it will come out, it will last until end of next year, so next year is the writing phase. I have a lot of chapters in my mind, and I say every day of life is one new contribution to that chapter. And yes, and I think that makes sense for me and for the company. I would say there are some, I would say from the innovation ecosystems, there are some weak signals of technological change. I think we are well organized for that. We are very much dealing with that. And the second thing is we have a clear strategy. We have a strategy to grow in the luxury market. It's our Luxury Ignite strategy. And I'm sure that we are well organized for that. And so it will be a little less complex than we have in fast, where we have been more diversified. But I think at the moment it's the right way the company is going, and I'm sure there will be innovations that you see in the shops all the time.
Lovely. Hannes, it's been fascinating talking with you and sharing some of your experience. It's been like a little taster, a trailer for the book, which I will be fascinated to read if you can capture that experience. But for now, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And if people want to find out more about Swarovski, they can, of course, have a look at the website. There's a lot of very interesting stuff there. But thank you so much, Hannes, for your time.
Thank you very much, John, and all the best for the students.
Thank you. Thanks.